Man, my man got a bad bitch in real life, in real motherfucking life. And I ain't never going nowhere. We locked in. You can't compare where you can't compete, stink. Yeah, you know, him, that's me. Bye.
Thank you to everyone watching, and a special thank you to our subscribers. Your support means everything. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. On a warm July evening, the sky over Fort Worth lit up with bursts of color, and the sounds of laughter and fireworks filled the air. Families gathered, friends embraced, and the spirit of the 4th of July brought life to the streets. It was a day meant for celebration, a moment to feel safe, surrounded by the comfort of loved ones. But beneath the shimmer of fireworks, a tragedy was unfolding. On Castleman Street, where the echoes of joy should have lingered, fear gripped the night. Hundreds of people filled the block, a community coming together in the carefree rhythm of summer. Among them was Tasha Hyman, a 39-year-old makeup artist whose hands had brought beauty to so many lives. Tasha wasn't just talented, she was a light. Her beauty business, Slay by Shay, wasn't just a brand but a testament to her love for uplifting others, for making people feel seen, valued, beautiful. She had dreams, plans, a future filled with hope. She stood alongside her fiancé, Tommy Howard, at his parents' home, their laughter mingling with the sounds of the block party. Around them, children played, music flowed, and the sky continued its dance of light and color. But in an instant, everything changed. What began as a joyful block party turned into a nightmare. Cars spun recklessly in the intersection of Castleman and Comanche streets, tires screeching, engines roaring. Fireworks, once a symbol of celebration, became weapons, shot toward neighboring homes. The tension that had simmered throughout the evening boiled over. The first shot rang out, a single crack piercing the night, and then chaos erupted. People ran. Screams rose above the music. The smell of gunpowder mingled with the acrid scent of burning fireworks. And in the midst of it all, Tasha fell. She wasn't part of the conflict. She wasn't involved in the chaos. She was an innocent soul, caught in the crossfire of a senseless act of violence. When the smoke cleared and the echoes of gunfire faded, 2 lives had been stolen. Tasha Hyman and 19-year-old Marcus Martin Jr. were gone. Their stories, their futures, their voices, all silenced in a matter of seconds. And as emergency lights bathed the street in a cold blue glow, one question lingered. Why? Why did this happen? How did a night of celebration become a moment of mourning? And who was responsible for ripping Tasha away from those who loved her? This is the story of Tasha Hyman, a story of joy and loss, of a community shattered, of a family seeking justice. It is a story that demands answers, that compels us to look closer, to understand how something so tragic could unfold in a place where laughter should have never turned to scream. Before her name became a headline, before her face was framed by news broadcasts and memorial posts, Tasha Hyman was simply Tasha. She was the warm smile that greeted clients at her beauty business. Slay by Shay. She was the gentle hands that transformed not just faces but spirits, making people feel beautiful, seen and valued. Tasha wasn't just a makeup artist. She was an artist of confidence, a creator of joy. Born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, Tasha built her life on love, family, and an unwavering belief in uplifting those around her. Her work wasn't just about the brushstrokes or the perfectly blended eyeshadow. It was about connection. She had a way of making even the most insecure person find a reason to smile, a reason to hold their head a little higher. Her business, Slay by Shay, wasn't just a brand. It was a space where people felt safe, where every brushstroke was a gesture of kindness. Brides, mothers, students, anyone who sat in her chair left not only looking beautiful, but feeling worthy. She was the kind of person who remembered the details. The name of your child, the story behind your smile, the worry behind your eyes. And she used those details to make you feel at home, to remind you that you mattered. But Tasha's world was more than just her work. She was a daughter, a fiancée, a friend. Her relationship with Tommy Howard was a story of love and partnership. Together, they dreamed of a future filled with possibilities, of a life built on the foundation of shared hopes and quiet, ordinary moments. They imagined years of celebrations, of simple evenings at home, of growing old together. Her father, Theodore Terry, had always been proud of his daughter's achievements, not just because of her success, but because of the heart she put into everything she did. He had watched her grow from a bright-eyed little girl to a strong, compassionate woman who made the world around her a better place. Her cousin, Tanisha Calhoun, often shared how Tasha's laughter could light up a room, how her spirit had a way of wrapping around those who needed comfort. But now, that light was gone. The laughter, the gentle hands, the dreams, stolen in a moment of senseless violence. And in the wake of her passing, those who loved her are left to pick up the pieces, to navigate a world where Tasha's voice is only a memory. Her family gathers, not to celebrate a milestone, but to mourn a life cut short. They release balloons into the sky, hoping their messages of love and grief reach wherever Tasha's spirit now resides.
5, 4, 3, okay, she know it.
I gotta think of a way to get this money by tomorrow. I gotta think of a way to get, I gotta think of a way to get this money by tomorrow.
You can sell your Beamer.
I can do what?
Sell your car.
Sell your mama's car.
For her family, every day, without Tasha, is a reminder of what was taken from them. The empty chair at family dinners, the phone calls that will never come, the future that will never unfold. And yet, in their grief, they hold on to her legacy. The beauty she brought into the world, the kindness she shared, the lives she touched. They hold on to hope that justice will be served, that the truth of what happened on Castleman Street will come to light. This is Tasha's story. A story of love, of community, of a life that mattered. And as we journey through the events that led to her final moments, we do so with the weight of her loss and the strength of her legacy in our hearts. The 4th of July, a day woven into the fabric of American tradition, a day when the sky dances with fireworks and the air fills with laughter and celebration. Families gather, communities unite, and for a brief moment, life feels simple. The crackle of sparklers, the hum of music, the scent of barbecue drifting through the neighborhood, all signs of joy, of freedom, of summer nights that seem to stretch on forever. On Castleman Street, in the heart of East Fort Worth, the celebration was in full swing. Hundreds of people filled the block, turning the quiet residential street into a vibrant tapestry of life. Children played, their faces painted with red, white, and blue. Neighbors shared stories over picnic tables lined with homemade dishes. The rhythm of music mixed with the pop of fireworks, creating a symphony of warmth and unity. Tasha Hyman stood amidst it all, a gentle smile on her face. She was with her fiancé, Tommy Howard, at his parents' home, surrounded by the comfort of family, wrapped in the safety of a community she believed in. To Tasha, this night was more than just a celebration of independence. It was a chance to pause, to breathe, to bask in the simple joy of being with loved ones. But as the evening wore on, the harmony began to fray. What started as harmless fun began to shift, subtly at first, almost imperceptibly. The street that had felt like home began to change, as if the air itself had thickened weighed down by an unease that no one could quite place. At the intersection of Castleman and Comanche streets, the celebration took a turn. Cars began to perform stunts, engines roaring, tires squealing, rubber burning against pavement. The crowd's cheers turned to shouts, the excitement to agitation. Smoke rose from the spinning tires, mingling with the haze of fireworks. And then, as if testing the boundaries of the night, fireworks were shot toward nearby homes. Bright, burning embers arsing through the sky, a dangerous game that blurred the line between festivity and recklessness. The mood shifted sharply. What had been a block party now teetered on the edge of chaos. People pushed against each other, some trying to leave, others drawn closer by the commotion. The laughter that had filled the air was now lost beneath the rising noise. The arguments, the cries, the pulse of uncertainty that swept through the crowd. And then, without warning, it happened. A crack, a gunshot pierced the night, and then another, and another. Suddenly, the sky wasn't only filled with fireworks, but with the terrifying staccato of gunfire. Over 100 rounds tore through the night, bullets finding their way into walls, cars, and flesh. The crowd that had gathered in celebration now scattered in terror. Parents pulled their children close. Friends reached for each other through the chaos. Strangers crouched behind anything that could offer protection. In the midst of it all, Tasha fell. She wasn't running, she wasn't fighting. She was simply there, an innocent soul, in the wrong place. Nearby, 19-year-old Marcus Martin Jr. also became a victim. His young life ending in the same tragic moment. Around them, others lay injured, their fates hanging in the balance. The street that had been filled with life was now littered with the echoes of violence. The glow of fireworks had faded, replaced by the harsh, unforgiving flash of emergency lights. Sirens wailed, cutting through the night, a haunting reminder of how quickly joy could turn to grief. For those who remained, the world had changed. The images, the sounds, the fear. It was all burned into their memories. And as first responders moved through the scene, as yellow tape wrapped around the street, one question remained. How did it come to this? Tasha Hyman had come to celebrate, to laugh, to love. Instead, she became a name on a list, a face in a memorial, a story waiting for justice. When the gunfire finally ceased, Castleman Street was unrecognizable. What had been a place of celebration was now a chilling scene of devastation. Shattered glass glimmered under the harsh glow of emergency lights, and the echoes of joy had been replaced by the relentless wail of sirens. In the aftermath, as the smoke from fireworks and gunpowder hung in the air, the magnitude of the violence began to unfold. First responders moved through the chaos, their voices urgent yet steady. Paramedics knelt over the wounded, their hands stained with the red of lives, hanging by a thread. Officers marked the ground with small yellow tents. Each number a silent testament to a bullet that had torn through the night. Over 100 spent casings lay scattered across the street, each a clue, each a question. The sheer volume of gunfire painted a grim picture of the terror that had unfolded, a barrage of bullets that showed no regard for the lives caught in its path. The investigation began the moment the last echo of gunfire faded. Detectives stepped over broken glass and trampled decorations, their eyes scanning for answers in the debris. They took in the remnants of what had been a child's shoe left behind, a balloon drifting through the smoke, the stillness of chairs knocked over in the rush to escape. Each detail told part of the story, but the truth remained hidden, tangled in the chaos of that night. Eyewitness accounts trickled in, fragmented and raw. Some recalled the cars doing donuts, the sudden shift in the crowd's energy. Others spoke of the fireworks aimed at homes, the confusion that followed. But when it came to the gunfire, the stories blurred. Shadows moved through the crowd, flashes of gunfire from different directions. Multiple shooters, they said. Too many to track, too fast to react. Panic had turned memory into a haze, leaving investigators to piece together a puzzle where many of the pieces were missing. The evidence collected was overwhelming. Casings from different firearms, live rounds that had not yet found their targets. The sheer variety suggested more than one gunman, more than one person responsible for the devastation. Bullet trajectories were analyzed, patterns of fire mapped out, and yet the answers remained elusive. Weeks passed. The community mourned, memorials bloomed on street corners, and the weight of unanswered questions pressed down on everyone who had been there. And then, a breakthrough. On July 18, 2024, just 2 weeks after the tragedy, Fort Worth police made an arrest. Toderick Rogers, a name that brought a mix of relief and dread. Rogers was charged with murder in connection to the deaths of Tasha Hyman and Marcus Martin Jr. The news swept through the community, a wave of emotions crashing down. Relief, yes, but also fear. Was he the only one? The arrest did little to dispel the shadows over the investigation. Rogers had been caught, but the evidence told a larger story, of more shooters, of gunfire that couldn't all be traced back to him. The recovered casings, the multiple types of firearms, they all pointed to a broader conspiracy, a group of individuals who had yet to face justice. Homicide detectives continued to dig, their work far from over. Leads were followed, witnesses re-interviewed, every detail scrutinized under the harsh light of truth, but no additional suspects were named. Those who had been there, who had seen the flashes of guns and heard the screams, were left wondering, were the others still walking free? The investigation moved forward, but slowly, weighed down by the complexity of the case. And as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the community waited. They waited for answers, for justice, for the moment when the fear that had taken root on Castleman Street might finally begin to fade. But for now, the questions lingered. Who else had pulled the trigger that night? And why, amidst the red, white, and blue of a nation's celebration, had so much blood been shed? It had been 2 long weeks since the 4th of July celebration turned into a nightmare on Castleman Street. The echoes of gunfire had faded, but the wounds left behind were still raw. Families clung to each other, searching for comfort in a world that now felt colder, sharper, where joy had been stolen by the cruelty of a single night. For Tasha Hyman's loved ones, time had become a cruel reminder of what they had lost. Every sunrise brought with it the sting of absence, every sunset a reminder that the person they held so dear would never walk through the door again. As the days dragged on, the community was left with only questions. Who could have unleashed such terror? How could a celebration of freedom become a battlefield? The weight of not knowing pressed down on them, and each moment without justice deepened the ache. Then, on July 18th, 2024, a spark of hope. The Fort Worth Police Department announced the arrest of Toderick Rogers. His name swept through the community like a gust of wind. Sudden and unsettling. Rogers was charged with murder, accused of pulling the trigger in the chaos that stole Tasha's life and that of 19-year-old Marcus Martin Jr. for the first time since the tragedy. There was a face to the horror, a name behind the devastation. The arrest brought with it a mixture of emotions: relief, fear, anger. Relief that progress had been made, that the tireless work of detectives had led to this critical moment. Fear that perhaps this arrest was only the beginning, that there were still shadows yet to be revealed. Anger at the senselessness of it all. The lives cut short, the futures stolen, the families left to pick up the pieces. The evidence against Rogers was mounting. Over 100 fired casings had been recovered from the scene, each one a stark reminder of the sheer violence that had erupted that night. Detectives had sifted through hours of witness statements, analyzed forensic evidence, and pieced together a narrative from the chaos. The arrest was not just a stroke of luck. but the result of painstaking work, an effort to bring clarity to the confusion, to pull the truth from the ashes of that summer night. But with the arrest came a new wave of questions. The investigation had always pointed to the involvement of multiple shooters. The evidence, the different types of firearms, the scatter of casings, painted a picture far larger than one man. Was Rogers a lone gunman, or was he part of something bigger? And if there were others, where were they now? Since Rogers' arrest, the flow of information slowed to a trickle. July 2024 marked the last major update, and since then, silence. The legal process seemed to have stalled, and the halls of justice felt emptier with each passing day. No court dates, no new developments, just the quiet hum of a case caught in the gears of a slow-moving system. For Tasha's family, for the loved ones of Marcus Martin Jr., and for an entire community still haunted by the sounds of that night, the wait has been excruciating. They attend memorials, they hold vigils, they speak Tasha's name into the world so it is not forgotten. But in the back of their minds, there is always the question, will justice ever truly come? The police continue to ask for help, urging anyone with information to step forward. Homicide detectives remain steadfast, refusing to let the case grow cold. And yet, as February 2025 unfolds, the path to justice feels as uncertain as ever. Rogers sits in custody, a man accused but not yet convicted. His story, his role in the tragedy, remains a mystery yet to be fully unraveled. And as the community waits, hope flickers, not with the brightness of certainty, but with the brightness of certainty, but with the fragile light of those who refuse to give up. The search for truth continues. The fight for justice endures. And somewhere in the quiet of Fort Worth, where the echoes of that night still linger, the story of what happened on Castleman Street waits to be told in full. In the quiet hum of everyday life, tragedy leaves a mark that never truly fades. For the family of Tasha Hyman, every moment since that fateful night on Castleman Street has been a struggle to find meaning in the meaningless, to draw breath in a world that feels emptier without her. Our father, Theodore Terry, stands as a pillar of strength, but even pillars crack under the weight of loss. His voice, often steady and warm, now carries an edge, grief sharpened by the unfairness of it all. He speaks of Tasha with a father's pride, his words drenched in love and laced with sorrow. "She was my baby," he says. "She had a smile that could light up a room, a spirit that lifted those around her. She didn't deserve this. None of this makes sense." Her cousin Tanisha Calhoun echoes the pain. She remembers Tasha not as a victim, but as a vibrant soul who poured light into dark spaces. She had this incredible gift, Tanisha recalls. Through her work at Slay by Shay, she made people feel beautiful, inside and out. She wasn't just good at makeup. She wasn't just good at makeup. She was good at life. She made everyone around her feel seen, heard, and valued. Their grief is raw, unfiltered. It is the kind of pain that grips you in the quiet moments, when the world has moved on but your world has stopped. They attend memorials, release balloons into the sky. Small gestures in a big, broken world. With every balloon, they send a message, a wish, a prayer. And with every release, a part of them lifts with it, yearning to touch the heavens where they hope Tasha now finds peace. But beneath the mourning lies a need for justice. They aren't just grieving. They're fighting for answers, for accountability, for closure. They stand before cameras, their faces etched with the exhaustion of loss, pleading with anyone who might hold the missing pieces. They ask the community to come forward, to break the silence, to help them find the truth. And the community shares their pain. Fort Worth, a city built on resilience, now feels the tremors of fear. The tragedy on Castleman Street was not just a loss for one family. It was a wound in the fabric of the entire neighborhood. Neighbors hold their children a little closer. Parents hesitate before letting their kids play outside. There is a sense of unease, a shadow cast by unanswered questions. People pass by the makeshift memorials, the candles, the photographs framed by wilting flowers. They pause, bow their heads, and offer a moment of silence. Some say a prayer. Others simply stand, letting the weight of the moment wash over them. In those quiet moments, Tasha's story is not just a headline. It is a reminder of life's fragility, of how quickly joy can be replaced by grief. Through it all, Tasha's family remains steadfast. They hold on to the memories, to the laughter, to the love. They refuse to let her name be reduced to just another statistic. And as the investigation continues, as the legal system grinds slowly forward, they stand as a reminder that true justice is not just about punishment. It is about healing, about honoring a life taken too soon. Their story is more than tragedy. It is resilience. It is a testament to love in the face of loss. And as they continue to mourn, to fight, and to hope, their voices become a beacon, calling for truth, for peace, for peace, for peace, for Tasha. Tasha Hyman's story is not just a story of loss. It is a story of love, of legacy, of a light extinguished too soon, but still glowing in the hearts of those who knew her. Her presence remains, woven into the very fabric of her community, a thread of hope and beauty in a tapestry now marked by sorrow. At Slay by Shay, her beauty studio, echoes of Tasha's spirit linger. Brushes and palettes sit as if waiting for her return. The walls, once filled with the laughter of clients transformed by her skillful hands, now hold a solemn quiet. Those who step through the door still feel her touch. In the colors she chose, in the way she made everyone feel beautiful, seen, valued. It was never just makeup to her. It was never just makeup to her. It was her way of healing, of lifting spirits, of spreading love. Her family, still raw from the wound of her absence, carry her legacy forward. They find strength in each other, in shared memories, in the little moments where they feel her presence. Her father, Theodore Terry, often visits the memorial, straightening the flowers, relighting the candles. It is his way of keeping her close, of speaking to her when words feel too heavy. Her cousin, Tanisha Calhoun, continues to share Tasha's story, not letting the world forget the woman behind the headlines. But grief is not just about remembering. It is about fighting for answers, for justice, for peace. And as the investigation continues, as leads are followed and evidence is pieced together, there remains a profound need for closure. Not just for Tasha's family, but for the entire Fort Worth community. For every parent who fears for their child's safety. For every neighbor who wonders if justice will ever come. The search for truth is not over. Toderick Rogers may be behind bars, but questions remain. Were others involved? Are there still pieces of the puzzle waiting to be uncovered? The call for justice is not just a demand, it is a plea. A plea for anyone with information to step forward, to break the silence, to help bring peace to a grieving family. Tarrant County Crime Stoppers remains an avenue of hope, a bridge between those who know the truth and those desperate to hear it. And yet, amid the sadness, there is also resilience. The community stands together, a tapestry of strength, supporting one another, offering shoulders to cry on and hands to hold. They gather at the memorial, leaving behind flowers, candles, and messages of love. They speak Tasha's name with reverence, ensuring her story is not just a moment in time, but a lasting reminder of the need for change, for safety, for accountability. As the sun sets over Fort Worth, casting a gentle glow over the skyline, there is a sense of quiet reflection, a reminder that life is fragile, that every day is a gift. But also a reminder that Tasha's story is not just about how she died. It is about how she lived, with kindness, with passion, with an unwavering dedication to uplifting those around her. And so, as we close this chapter, we do so with a promise. A promise to honor her memory by advocating for safer communities. A promise to hold those responsible accountable. A promise to never let her light fade. Because Tasha Hyman was more than a victim. She was a daughter, a cousin, a friend, a beacon of love in a world that needs it now more than ever. Justice may still be a journey, but with every step forward, we carry her legacy with us. And as long as her story is told, as long as her name is spoken, Tasha will never truly be gone. She will remain, forever loved, forever remembered, forever a part of us all. As we close the chapter on Tasha Hyman's story, the quest for justice remains very much alive. Her life, her light, her legacy. These are not just memories, but a call to action. Her family is still waiting, the Fort Worth community is still watching, and the unanswered questions continue to echo through the silence. But what do you think? With so much left unresolved, do you believe more arrests are on the horizon? Could there still be pieces of the puzzle waiting to be uncovered? We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters. Your perspective could be part of the movement toward truth and accountability. If Tasha's story moved you, if her legacy of love and strength touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video. Share it to keep her story alive, to spread awareness, to remind the world that justice delayed is justice denied. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Unmasked True Crime Stories. Join our community. One that believes in compassion over exploitation, in truth over sensationalism, in justice over silence. By subscribing, you're not just staying informed, you're standing with us, with Tasha's family, with every victim whose voice deserves to be heard. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And most importantly, thank you for being a part of this journey. For justice, for healing, for change.